What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Week 7 edition of the Coast to Coast podcast. We're going to hop right into this right away. We'll get started with game number 1. Eagles, Giants. Eagles coming up with that 22-21 victory, leading the NFC least out there. Boston Scott with a game-winning touchdown. And I believe who handled this one today?
I got this one. The NFC least bowl, the trash night football, just a matchup of two garbage teams, but Fulgham for the Eagles looking pretty decent. Since he's been in the lineup, has had double digits every week in PPR, and Shepard looked pretty good in his return to the lineup. Might be a good waiver wire pickup if you're looking for some depth or some help there. Rodgers, tight end on the Eagles. Why are they using him, but they never used Ertz before? Like, what he was doing is what Ertz should have been doing. But whatever, now Ertz is hurt.
And I think another thing you got to put out there, Danny Vick out there with that 80-yard rush, falling down, looking like he was Lamar Jackson out there. But yeah, that was that. So let's head to game number 2. We got the Niners with a dominating victory, 33-6 over the Patriots. Jeff Wilson leading the charge out there for the Niners. Bummed for those McKinnon fan starters. So Carson, take away.
Yeah, I think we can kind of classify the Patriots as being kind of ass, which is insane to say. They've had one of the greatest 20-year runs ever for a team, and now it's I don't know. There's no one you can really trust on this team fantasy wise. I mean, maybe you can take a flyer on Harris. I think he's getting some opportunity, but I think all these playmakers on the Patriots are kind of shot. You can't really trust any of them. As for the Niners, yeah, I mean, whoever is starting in their backfield, I think, is a viable option. The only problem is you never know. You never know who's going to get the carries, who's healthy. So Wilson went off. He's number 1 running back this week. And yeah, it was weird to see McKinnon because he wasn't even injured. They just chose not to play him. You never know with them. But yeah, a really nice win for them. And Wilson was the star. There's not much else you can say about that.
Yeah, and
Kittle kind of had a slow day too, which was surprising.
I was going to say pay attention to Brandon. Pay attention to Brandon Ayuk next week. They have a matchup against the Seahawks where the Seahawks secondary has been doing nothing, especially as you saw Christian Kirk and DeAndre Hopkins do well this week. So going to the next one, we have the freaking choke masters out here. The Falcons losing 23-22 on a game-winning touchdown pass to T.J. Hawkinson in the end zone as Gurley accidentally broke the play in the end zone at the end of the game and sold it. So, Jose, take it away here.
Yeah, I mean, Falcons have some of the most talent receiving-wise, one of the best receiving corps in the league. Ridley and Julio, you can make a case that they're both top 5. Ridley's just having an insane season, but Hawkinson, I think he's establishing himself as a top end in the league. He's had some good weeks back-to-back, red zone monster, and DeAndre Swift getting some decent production today. Or when the game was.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely something to notice. And, we will see with this Falcons team what's going to be going on. So, yeah, Galladay, also a solid game. So, yeah. So, going to the next game, we have the Battle of Ohio. The Browns coming out on top, but unfortunately losing OBJ in this 37-34 victory over the Bengals. Baker turned from nothing into something crazy. I think he finished 23 for 23 of 5 TDs after his interception. So, Carson, tackle this one.
Yeah, this game was awesome. It was dope watching Baker and Burrow go at it. Baker actually had a good fantasy day, a really good day actually. Almost 30 points. His next highest game was 15 points in Week 5, so he definitely stepped up with 5 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt had another solid outing. He's a great RB1 option. And three pass catchers came out of nowhere, which sucks because all these guys put up really great numbers, but I'm sure barely anyone started them. If you did, it was just you were probably depleted or something. You didn't have had a ton of buys or something. You have Landry with his typical day, 5 for 48. It feels like he does that every game. But Rashard Higgins, six catches, 110 yards, perfect with 6 targets. He had 17. Donovan Peoples-Jones had 3 for 56 yards and a touchdown with the game winner, which was pretty awesome. And then Harrison Bryant, which we're going to get to very last, crazy game. This could have been Hooper if he was healthy, but 4 catches, 56 yards, 2 touchdowns, 21 points. Insane day for all 3 of those guys coming out of nowhere. And then the Bengals as well, they had a great day as well. Burrow, 4 touchdowns. Higgins is really having a really solid connection. He's, if you could trade for him, or probably not on waivers still, but he's been playing awesome. Him and Boyd both have really good connections with Burrow. Like their, catches to target ratio is like really, really great. And then AJ Green finally, again, turning that great volume into some production. He didn't connect as well, 7 catches on 13 targets, but still a solid day with 7 catches, 82 yards. And yeah, this was a fun game fantasy-wise. There were a lot of points around in this game.
Yeah, for sure. So going on in the next game, we have the battle of the undefeated teams. We have the Steelers. The Steelers winning 27-24 over the Titans. Battle of the 2 best teams in the league. Not the greatest fantasy games, but it was definitely one to watch. Jose, what do you got to say about this one?
Yeah, I mean, the Titans, now that they've got their pass catchers back, A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, and Jonnu Smith, they look kind of scary. I mean, A.J. Brown with 6 receptions for 153 yards and a touchdown, and Corey Davis with 6 for a touchdown. Like, obviously, they've still got the elite run game with Derrick Henry, but watch out for the Titans this year. I think they're going to make a push. But on the Steelers side of the ball, I mean, Connor did his thing. Decent day for Juju, bounced back. But a lot of people started Claypool, and he just had such a terrible day. I mean, 1 catch for negative 2 yards. Deontay Johnson in his return had 2 touchdowns. But, yeah, good win for the Steelers, staying undefeated.
Yeah, for sure, especially in that the Steelers receiving core now, if Deontay Johnson back, it's going to be unexpected to see what Claypool's going to produce in such a talented roster. So going into this next game, we had the Saints, same score, 27-24 over the Panthers. Saints just looking to have Michael Thomas come back. Obviously, he just re-aggravated. I mean, he got a hamstring injury, so we'll see what that has to hold. But, Carson, what do you got to say about this one?
Yeah, the wait for Thomas continues. This was kind of a basic game, nothing too crazy on both sides. Kamara doing what he does with 22.8 points. Breeze had a really solid day with 23 points, and then all 3 of the Panthers pass catchers, kind of like the Bengals, all 3 of them I think are really viable and really good options. Robbie Anderson showed he's been one of the best free agent signings. Double-digit points in every game. He's wide receiver 7, I believe. DJ Moore keeps balling with 4 catches, 93 yards, 2 touchdowns, 25 points. And then Mike Davis, he's been struggling. This is the 2nd week in a row where he's kind of struggled and he hasn't put up the points that he was putting up. And I think that's perfect timing because CMC's, probably won't play this week because it's a short week, but I'm pretty sure he'll be coming back next week. And he'll be back to being CMC, what he always does. Hopefully.
Yeah, we can only hope, especially for those that are trying to use him in a late playoff run. And if you can actually try and make a trade for him for someone.
I got him, bro. I made a trade in one of my leagues. I picked him up.
Yeah, if someone's desperate for a win this week, maybe you can try and pick him off someone. We'll see. So going to the next game, probably the worst game of the week in my opinion. We have the Bills with an 18-10 win over the Jets. So disappointing that the only touchdown comes from the worst team in the league. Jose, I know you're a Bills owner yourself. A lot of Bills players on your team. So what you got to say about this one?
Yeah, I mean, just so frustrating watching this game. I was expecting the Bills to have a bounce-back game. I know they had a couple, rough games back-to-back. I think they had us all fooled those first few weeks. I really don't think they're an elite team anymore. How do you not score a single touchdown against the 0-6 Jets, now 0-7? But, Beasley with a PPR monster game, 11 catches for 112 yards.
Nice dog.
This backfield, I don't understand where it's at. I mean, Zach Moss and Singletary just not getting really any carries. I just would not trust either of them going forward. Really only options here is Beasley and Diggs. But on the Jets side of the ball, there's really no options at all. P. Ryan with 39 yards and a touchdown, but I would not start him ever.
Yeah, and Crowder's the only valuable option on that offense, so he was out. So if he's not there, it's useless for fantasy. So another surprise game, we have the Washington football team with a 25-3 win over the Cowboys. Unfortunately, Andy Dalton went down this game, and their third-string quarterback is now starting for them after Dak Prescott with a season-ending injury. So bad game to see for Cowboys fans and Cowboys fantasy owners since their players did not come to produce. But Carson.
I'll start with the positive. I mean, Washington, obliterated them. Scary Terry, he's awesome. He's quarterback proof. He had another great day with 22 points, and his schedule looks really good so far. So that's like a really good trade target for sure. Antonio Gibson, showing that he's actually a really solid running back too, flex option. He had a great day carrying the ball for 20 carries, 120 yards, and a touchdown for 18 points.
Told y'all.
Yeah, great day for those two guys. And then Dallas, yeah, what a mess, man. What a mess. I was completely wrong about Dalton. I thought that they were going to, not fall off as much in fantasy production with Dalton at the helm, but, obviously he couldn't do anything against the Cardinals. He got injured this week, and now you got DiNucci or whatever, I don't even know his name, and he's starting. And, Cooper, he had a solid day today. He kind of seems quarterback proof, but CeeDee Lamb, Schultz, Gallup, I don't really see them as viable. I mean, they gotta prove something first, so they don't really seem like we can really even start them at this point. And then Zeke, I have no idea what to do with Zeke, because on the one hand, it's okay, rookie quarterback, he's got to play it safe, give it to your bell cow and Zeke. But on the other hand, their offensive line is terrible, and he's been fumbling. They're trying to get Pollard in there slow and set. So, I don't know. The Cowboys are a mess right now, both in real life and in fantasy. And it sucks because with Dak, they're awesome, and it just shows how valuable Dak is and what was.
Yeah, so I think definitely going in the future, yeah, Dak's definitely going to be getting that money, especially since he brought so much value to that Cowboys team, and they seem to be nothing without him. So look at this next game. We have with Aaron Jones out, the Packers are still able to get a 35-20 win over the Texans. The Texans just seem like they're headed for a top 5 pick this year. But Devontae Adams with only the second best receiving game of the week. So, Jose, tackle this one.
Yeah, I mean, Jamal Williams, great game stepping up. I mean, but really it was just Devontae Adams, 13 for almost 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, showing why he is still an elite receiver in this league despite, his struggles this season. Rodgers with a good bounce back game with 4 touchdowns and almost 300 yards, 285. Yeah, the Texans just look bad. Watson's stat line wasn't that bad, but just watching that game, you can just tell that the offense looks lost most of the time. They really don't know what they're doing. It's just not a good team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they did get some decent production out of Watson, Cobb, DJ, and Fuller, but then again,
Fuller had a late touchdown. Without that late touchdown, it was not a good day for Fuller.
You can't rely on that stuff for fantasy. Yeah. I mean, especially getting shadowed by Jair Alexander, one of the top corners in the league. You got to be aware of that. So, pushing himself into the MVP race, we have the Tom Brady-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers looming on the return of Antonio Brown in the next few weeks with a 45-20 win over the Oakland Raiders. Scotty Miller and Godwin leading the way, and Nelson Aguilar not being the Butterfingers man he used to be. So, Carson, take it away.
Yeah, Tampa looks scary. Their offense is finally coming together, and obviously we know their defenses. They look really scary, like a real Super Bowl contender. Brady had a prime Brady day, what he used to do. 369 yards, 4 touchdowns, 36 points. He played great. Godwin, played like the guy that we all drafted him and expected he would put up, in what he did last year. 20 points for him. And then Scotty Miller, Brady loves this guy. He loves his little tiny slot receivers. He had a great day with 6 catches, 109 yards, a touchdown for 20 points. And then, we touched on it a couple weeks ago with Gronk being a bust, but, he's finally, starting to play like old Gronk. Last week had a really good week. This week, 17.2 points. So, all those receivers looking good. And obviously Mike Evans is kind of the outlier. It's tough to see him, just not really fitting into their scheme as well. And then their backfield, kind of like, the Niners, Rams. I have no clue. I thought Ronald Jones was running away with this backfield. It was his job. And then, Fournette, took a few weeks off. And, I think, it's finally kind of getting a grasp on the offense. They're using him a lot more. But, yeah, Tampa rolled. And then as for the Raiders, you said Aguilar had a great day. Waller's doing his thing with 17 points. But besides them, Tampa Bay shut everyone else down. And I don't really think you can count on Aguilar. I think besides Waller, all their pass catchers, it's really like a gamble. You don't know who's going to step up. But, yeah, great win for Tampa Bay. They just keep rolling.
Yeah, and going into the future, expect Antonio Brown to be taking those snaps from Scotty Miller unless Bruce Arians trying to run a group of those 4 guys out there, interchanging them. So we'll see. Going into this next game, we have the Chiefs defense running away with this one. Nobody on their offense really did anything, but it was a 43-16 win. Jose, tackle this one.
Yeah, I mean, Chiefs defense was my MVP play of the week. Really is what kept me in the game this week. But Mahomes really just sat back and kind of watched the team kind of did its thing. Bell with a disappointing game. I think the signing of Bell was pretty overhyped. Don't think he'll be able to really take the backfield from Clyde. If anything, like they'll split carries, but I still think they're going to invest in Clyde more than Le'Veon Bell. But on the Broncos side of the ball, I would buy Melvin Gordon. I mean, he's just a workhorse for this offense. Despite their struggles, he's still got his touchdown and almost 20 touches. So yeah, he puts up good numbers every week that he plays, and I think Melvin Gordon would be a solid pickup going into the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. And Albert O seeming to have that connection back in college with Drew Lock being the only reliable pass catcher out there today. But I still think Noah Fant's the number 1 tight end out there. So next game, we have the Chargers. Justin Herbert leading that Rookie of the Year charge, in my opinion, with a 39-29 win over the Jaguars, with Justin Herbert and James Robinson both balling out. Some big games. Justin Herbert finishing as QB1 this week. Carson, handle this one.
Yeah, like you said, 2 epic fantasy performances by both Robinson and Herbert. Besides Robinson, no one on the Jaguars really did anything noteworthy, but he was awesome. It's still crazy that he's undrafted in real life, he's undrafted in fantasy, and he's sitting currently as the number 2 running back overall. That's just awesome. And then, Herbert, he's the truth. 347 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then 9 rushes, 60 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. That's awesome to see for 38 points. And a big reason why he's getting all those points is Keenan Allen, 10 catches, 125 yards, no touchdowns, but in PPR, 22 points. He just keeps showing why he's one of the best receivers in the league. He's a great fantasy option. And then as for their running backs, I don't really think – I know, some guys are putting some stock into Kelly or Jackson just because Eckler's out. I don't think you can really trust any of them. I think, it's crazy because the narrative really flipped at the beginning of the year. It's like, Anthony Lynn, he's a former running back. He's going to, really emphasize running the ball. But now it's completely flipped. It's the Herbert show. He's just airing it out. And I don't really know how much value those 2 running backs have. So, Herbert and the guys, they keep rolling. They're it's awesome to watch, man. It's awesome to watch him just go to work. And I'm seeing him be this successful. I'm really excited for Tua as well. He gets the Rams this week.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Herbert being regarded as one of the top 5 arm talents in the league, Lynn just can't hide away from the fact that he's going to have his rookie man throw out there. So probably the game of the week, in my opinion. We have the Cardinals winning in a thriller, 37-34. Some late mishap by Russell Wilson throwing a pick to Isaiah Simmons on the 5th defensive snap of the game for him. Only his 5 snaps, and he was able to make a game-winning play. Jose, how about you tackle this thriller?
I mean, game of the week, game of the year, too, to be honest. I mean, Murray stepping up to take down the MVP frontrunner Wilson. I mean, he becomes the first player in history to record over 350 yards passing, over 3 passing touchdowns, 50-plus rush yards, and a rushing touchdown. I think he's, projected himself as one of the MVP frontrunners now. Comparing him to Lamar Jackson last season through the first 7 games, he's got 200 more yards, 2 more touchdowns, 3% better completion percentage, and the same exact record. So I just think, he's really making that case for himself to be an MVP. And this team looks legit. I mean, they took down the undefeated Seahawks. Buda Baker, I know it's not fantasy relevant, but looking like one of the best safeties in the league. And Edmonds, his value without Drake is huge, especially in PPR. I mean, he caught all 7 of his targets for 87 yards. So I would try to pick up Edmonds if he's not picked up already. But storyline of the day was Tyler Lockett, obviously. 15 catches for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Just a great bounce back game for Lockett. And I wouldn't panic too much on Metcalf. He did have that one big play that was called back, but I think it was just the Lockett show today. You just have to sit back and admire it.
Yeah, he's someone that you just can't sleep on.
Have you guys ever seen 50 points? I think that's the first time I've ever seen someone drop 50 points.
I think Will Fuller did it like 2 years ago.
Will Fuller, Jamal Charles had a game like that back when he was on the Kansas City Chiefs. It's one of the greatest receiver games. Yeah, one of the greatest receiving games of all time.
Like that, like last year.
In fantasy, absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. It was Henry's game versus the Jags.
The Jaguars, where he had 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think that was close.
Going into this last game, probably another dud of a Monday Night Football game. We got the Rams with a 24-10 victory. Like, even in my notes here, I literally had nothing written down. It was just a boring game, especially. But, I mean, defensive side, you see 2 of the greatest pass rushing talents of the last few years with Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald going at each other. So let's finish it off.
Yeah, like you said, not much like fantasy relevance in this game. This is dominated by both defenses, kind of showing the Bears are we all kind of felt like they were pretenders, not really contenders, and they showed it this week. For the Bears, I mean, no one, the higher score was Montgomery with 11.9 points. No one got over 12. So, that's gross. And then as for the Rams, no one, Reynolds had a nice day with, 15 points, but, Kupp and Woods, the 2 main stars of that offense, didn't really have that great of days. So, it sucks for anyone that needed a Monday Night Miracle with any of these guys. You probably didn't get it, but, boring game, typical for Monday night, it seems like.
Well, yeah, I mean, dealing with the Bears side of the things, you got a great rookie corner in Jalen Johnson out of Utah, and you got obviously you got the Fuller locking them up there. So it's hard for those guys to produce, and especially Jalen Ramsey guarding A-Rob. So not that much of a week to see much of a game to see this week. So looking at the team of the week, heading off the end of this, QB1, Justin Herbert, 38.48 points. And looking at RB1, Jeff Wilson Jr. of the 49ers with 32 points. RB2, James Robinson from the same game as Herbert with 31.7. Wide receiver 1, highest scoring game we have seen this year, Tyler Lockett with 53 points. And wide receiver 2 with a very impressive game, Devontae Adams with 44.6. Tight end, you got Harrison Bryant filling in for Austin Hooper with 21.6. The flex, you got Deontay Johnson of the Pittsburgh Steelers with 29 points. Defensive special teams, you got the Chiefs with pick 6 and a 102-yard kick return touchdown. And the kicker who won the Bills the game, Tyler Brass with 21 points. And that totals 292.38 points. So it was very possible. I know people may have faced Tyler Lockett and Devontae Adams in their league, or you could have faced many of these people. So it's hopefully you did not lose your week if you were caught slipping against one of these people. So that is it for today, and we will see you at our halfway point check-in next week with week 8 finishing up, and we'll talk about halfway MVP and who we think will finish the season as some of the best players in fantasy. Signing out. Peace.